There are some conversations that we must make comfortable in every household and society as a whole. There are also moving stories of perseverance and purpose that not only uplift others, but inspire us all to think and reach higher in hopes of positively affecting someone else. Throughout my journey, I've been fortunate enough to have been a part of some amazing conversations and witnessing wonderful stories of transformation, including my very own. And now I share them with you. Your stories, your narratives, our inspiration. I'm Cory George, and this is One on One. Hi, everyone, and if you're just joining us, we are continuing the important conversation of surviving childhood sexual assault from a male perspective. And joining me in this continuous conversation are Joe Braxton,
Hey everyone.
Mr. Aaron Tisdale,
Hello again.
Mr. Maurice Knox,
Hey guys.
and Mr. Malachi Stewart.
Hello.
And so before we go a little further, I want to tell you guys that if you're just noticing our pins, or else if you haven't noticed, we're wearing pins that signify National Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and the official color is teal. So it can be a pin, it could be a ribbon, it could be anything. And so I want to make sure that you guys understand why we're wearing these pins. But I want to get back into the conversation that we last left off, and I was asking you guys, what were the warning signs that you felt people missed in your change behavior after your assault happened? And I'm going to start with me first, because I feel like that was the one thing that kept me silent from people. It's because they didn't see the obvious. So I know that after it happened to me, I became a much shyer person. And we talked about how sometimes when these things happen in our childhood, it forces us to mature in a way that we forget being children. You know, that we kind of lose the essence of freedom. I lost my freedom. I started being too aware of my surroundings, and most kids don't care. I started wearing baggy clothes. I took F's in gym class because I hated dressing out. I started to compare myself to my male siblings, male cousins, male friends, and I thought I was inadequate. And it left me feeling used and old. And as you had talked about, it took away my right to have the experience that I thought I was going to have. And at 6 years old, I didn't even know what the experience was supposed to be, because I shouldn't be thinking about that, right?
Right.
So part of the change was, you know, as I said again, I became quiet. I became very, very, I think, submissive in a way that I did not want to do anything to upset anybody.
Yeah. Can I ask why wear baggy clothes? I mean, what was the significance of that?
For me, because I didn't want the attention. I didn't want the attention on my physical body.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, it didn't start at 6, but as it went on, and by the time I was 11 or 12, I was not even trying to show skin. I was wearing long sleeves in the summer.
Wow.
Tank tops were a bother. Like, it took me until I became an adult to wear a tank top, because it was showing my body, and I felt like it felt like people were looking at me. And then it got so bad that I wouldn't wear the color red until I was an adult, because I said, if I wear red, that means I'm fast. You know, being Southern, you know, it's like if you wear red nail polish, then you're a fast woman. But for me, red was like, oh my God, that's the attention color. I didn't want to wear it. I had a hard time wrestling wearing red anything. I became quiet. I didn't talk a lot. People thought I was shy because I was quiet. I was like, no, I just didn't. I hated attention.
So, did you think your attackers were attracted to you because of your body, the shape of your body or something?
No. Well, being a child, you don't know. But, you know, as children, we tend to rationalize our own way.
Right.
Like, if you have no answer, you will make up one, right? And usually the answer is self-blame. I want to throw the question out to you guys. What, if you look back now, when you look at your younger self, what do you think are the signs that you would see now, because you know it, but that people missed?
With my situation, I feel as if I became shy. I was already shy, but I became shyer. People thought I was a mute. They thought that something was wrong with me. I wouldn't participate in like a lot of activities. I always wanted to be alone. I didn't want to be around other people. I was also living, you know, I was also told by my abuser if I ever told anyone that I would be on the side of a milk carton box. And so I was living, you know, with that fear as well. So there's so many things, you know, I can go back and look at so many things, you know. As I said, it made me build like a sexual addiction, you know, because even though I felt it was wrong, you know, being with my abuser at the beginning, I fell in love with it, and I started liking it.
Right.
I started loving it. And so at any time I would try to be around them, you know, because I knew something was going to happen. But that's also, I guess, when my depression started as well. But I hid all of that. I hid all of it.
Yeah.
Nobody knew it. I let people think I was shy because I knew inside I was harboring this deep secret, you know, that I was too afraid to share. So, and also with feelings, I didn't really show anybody any feelings. Like even my mom, like I felt she loved me, but deep down inside I didn't want to accept it because I felt like I wasn't worthy. So I felt like I wasn't worthy of love.
Yeah.
So,
That's
so I pushed myself away from so many things, and now, you know, I'm trying to get it all back. So that's what I recognize. So.
Can I ask Joe a question?
yeah, go ahead.
Joe, so you said you started loving, was it you loved the sex or him, or did you love the sex and
I
hate
loved
him?
everything about it because my father wasn't there. Like I didn't have a male figure in my life, so he became that male figure I needed. And so I looked up to him, and then, you know, I guess that's what I felt was right at the time.
Well, that's the thing, you know, because you said you felt unworthy of love, and I think that a lot of times that doesn't come out as a statement, but it's a feeling, and you put a phrase to it, because it's one thing to make bad decisions, but it's another thing to understand that the bad decisions are related to how you feel about yourself.
Right.
That, you know, and so when we're going back to those bad decisions, sometimes that crack addict or that alcoholic is not an alcoholic because they like liquor. It's alcohol, but they're alcoholic because they started drinking because of something they were soothing. You know, and that's why when we have to look at people and have less judgment for the situation. So someone who had compassion, like some of us could hear your story and understand why you went there, but on a blank canvas, just seeing the I guess the warning signs, would have thought you were something else without asking you, why are you doing that?
Right.
And I think that's where we sometimes go wrong in our communities, that we jump on the judgment bandwagon without asking, what was the catalyst for your behavior? Yeah.
Right.
I want to ask you, Aaron, looking at your life now with the eyes that you have, what were some of the warning signs that you feel were obviously missed in your behavior after your abuse happened?
Just like many of us, I became shy as well. One of my female cousins that sexually assaulted me, we went to grammar school together, elementary school together, and so she used to talk about my mannerisms and, you know, call me gay and faggot and things like that. And my retaliation, you know, against that is, you know, you better shut up before I tell mama what you done. And so this is happening in front of everyone, you know. And so I would go home and my mom was like, you know, what's wrong with you? And it's like, oh, you know, me and so got into it. And she was like, why? I was like, because she was talking about my mannerisms. And my mom was like, oh, don't worry about this, you know, just kind of brush it off. But I never went into detail, like, I never got to the bottom line of why,
Right.
you know, that was happening to me. So, yeah, I became shy, and I dealt with some anger as well, and I blame myself for a whole lot of things, like my family clearly, you know, saw it, but I don't think they really think nothing of it. Like, I used to let my cousins do things that they see as adults that's not right, and it's like, well, why would you allow, you know, them to do that to you? And it's like, oh, it's okay, you know. Yeah.
I think, you know, hearing you, well, I have another question for you, but
Okay.
I think this lends to the point as when this happens as a young child and it's cyclic over time, we tend, and the word that comes back to me again is normalize.
Right.
We tend to have to make it okay for us to have to survive.
Right.
And someone of an adult nature hearing the story may not understand that as a child we didn't have the capacity, we didn't have the understanding, nor the power to do anything ourselves. And if you don't feel comfortable at home or in your community to say it, you're walking around with this, and it's basically an exploding bomb. But I know that this is your first time sharing in such a forum. Having been here through these conversations thus far, what have you learned about yourself in this conversation? Having this with us, and this goes out to all of those that are watching now, that have yet to have their first conversation. What can you tell that person that is just having that hasn't had the first conversation? What that feels like to come from under the blanket?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So just what I've learned here, we all have it's a common thread. We all been through that experience, and so because you all could relate, I feel safe. When you called me and you asked to be a part, I was apprehensive, and I remember talking to you about it. Because just like you, I hidden it for so long, never thought about it. I was telling other experiences that I had, but I kept this one hidden. And that just showed me that I was still walking around with that unhealed part of myself. So being here today is very therapeutic, and I thank you all. But for someone who may not ever utter a word about it, may not even have their first conversation, that I think we all are a testimony. We are survivors of it. We are thriving, and you can definitely outlive that experience.
But also one thing that I also think that for you is going to unlock, and I'm glad you said the word thriving, because I don't usually like the word survivor, because for me that's a C average level of living, meaning you're just bobbing and weaving in the water.
That's true.
I feel like for me, I want to thrive. I want to surpass my own expectations, because I don't know what you expect of me in my life. But I know that even part of the purpose of the show is to show that living abundantly is a choice. Living above everything is a choice, and this is kind of my example of doing that. But I also feel like, because of the other things that you said that you're going through, I think you're going to understand that when you heal that up, a lot of those other things won't even exist anymore. So, because I know for a fact, for me, and I'm going to make sure that I let you guys answer the question, but I know for a fact that, as we talked about earlier, some of the life choices I made was in direct correlation to what was unhealed. If I felt unworthy of things, I'm going to do unworthy-like things. I'm going to be self-destructive because I was already destroyed. So why am I going to build myself up if I don't know if I'm worth building up? If I feel I've reached my human level of living at an early age, I feel like at 13 I was old, because I've been used. So at 20 I was old. I didn't start living until I was in my late 30s. I had experiences. I had kids. I had master's degree, bachelor's. You couldn't tell me nothing. I was on TV. I was writing books, but I wasn't living. And I thought that by saving you guys, I was living. I thought that by having you guys on these platforms was allowing me to live. And I said, no, I'm just giving them access to tools I haven't used yet. So I think that, again, for those who are, once you tell your story the first time, you're going to hear how all these other life choices are so connected to that, to that one thing. So I want to continue the question with you, but I know that your story is different because you didn't think about it much. Looking back now, because this is new for you too, do you feel like you had warning signs but didn't even know because you had put the story behind you?
No, I don't feel like, even thinking back, warning signs.
So let me tell you what your warning signs were, because you talked about it. See, this is when the coach in me comes out, because we have to have a conversation. So you mentioned the thing about having the skin peeled off your feet. But I told you in the conversation that was the warning sign, that you didn't like your feet touched specifically by women.
Oh yeah. That part. Yeah,
that
absolutely.
Part, yes,
absolutely.
Yeah, that's a safe thing we can talk about.
Yes.
That's a safe area. And for you, that would be something that probably no one would notice, but maybe your female partner at the time didn't ask, well, why don't you like that?
Right.
Now, had they asked, you'd have to answer.
Right. And I usually just would make up something. I wouldn't go into what happened, because at that point, I didn't know that those two things were so close.
But but I also want to bring up that sometimes a consequence of such a disaster in life can cause you to purposely forget it because that's part of your protection of yourself. Is that
Mechanism.
yeah, it's coping because I forgot for a while. Actually, my fourth perpetrator, it came back to me while I was showering one day. I forgot there was a fourth person.
Wow.
Wow.
I literally forgot until I don't know what the situation was, but I was in the shower because I remember it, and this was years ago. I said, "Wait a minute, there was a fourth." So that's why in some studies they do say that some people have those repressed memories. They're not false memories. They're for their own protection. They just chose to not think about it.
Amazing.
And that's a warning sign. But it wasn't something that someone else would pick up.
Right.
That'll be something that when you realize, oh wait a minute, this happened. It came back to me. But you said it all came back to you. Was there any different feelings at that moment that you've had about yourself when it all came rushing back to you?
No, I think, I can remember exactly where I was. You know what I mean? It's that I remember the exact corner on the exact street, man. When I saw, and I wanted to, I didn't get angry, but I did want her to be held accountable. But then I thought of the issues it was going to cause with the rest of some of the family members. So, no,
Let me ask you this deeper question: being a heterosexual man, do you at all feel that it was easier to let it slide because she was a woman that did that to you?
You know what? Sitting here today,
Right.
yes. I think that, like, just listening to everybody's story and knowing mine, because it was a female. Now, if it was a male, I have no idea how I would be or end up, or I'm so compassionate right now with these G's. This is amazing to even sit here and look at it from their perspectives. I mean, but from mine, like you said, sometimes we wear that as a badge of honor.
Absolutely.
As a heterosexual man, you wear it as a badge of honor. But if it was different, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, please.
To your point, and we discussed this during the break, my experience with that is totally different. And many other homosexual or gay men, when they have had a sexual assault experience, a lot of people associate that, and especially with a female has done that to them, they automatically think, oh, you're gay because you had that sexual assault experience with a female.
Right.
That's not the case. That's two different things that we're
Right.
talking about. So I just wanted to, bring up that point too. Yeah.
it's amazing.
And so, what about you? What do you feel were the the warning signs that somebody missed, that had they been paying attention the right way, that they would have picked up on? Any changes? Any changes in your behavior?
Yeah, there were like really obvious behavioral changes. In that, like, I am generally like I was like a really sweet kid, and I was really mild mannered, and like I went from that to like being triggered really easily and having like these outbursts where I'm like throwing the desk. And it would just happen, and like they were taking me to therapists, and like they couldn't get to the root of what was happening. And so I was trying to send signals. Like I would say, if my mom would send me to spend time with the kid, I would say, Mom, like he had me take a shower at his place today. Things that were odd. I would try to bring to her attention, and it would like totally go over my mom's head.
Okay.
And after I kept like trying to send those like warning signs and like send those conversations, and like I was being ignored, which was really just me being ignored by like a single mother who just really, didn't have time, like whatever, like we're going to the mall, I ain't got time to listen to you. But after a while, like the anger and resentment and the bitterness of being ignored by her as well made me act out even more.
Oh, wow.
So I was acting out in school, and every time I was in a situation where I felt like I was being out of control or somebody was trying to force me to do something that I didn't want to do, I would be triggered and I would lash out completely irrationally and become like a whole different person. And that, looking back, it was so obvious that I don't really, to me it's like kind of like my advice to parents would be like, pay attention to those signs, because that's not, if your child's behavior changes in a way that's drastic, if you know your child is becoming another child, that's not nothing. Don't just like dismiss that and be like, I don't wonder what's wrong with them, must be a demon, must be this, let me just keep praying for them. No, like that is something. Look into that, like dig into that, find that, identify whatever that is, and like take time to like, you know, deal with whatever that issue is.
Okay, awesome. So I want to go around the, around the round table, around the circle, because I know that for you, that you said writing your book was cathartic. But when did you know that you had to do that?
Well, I guess it started in my early 20s. I knew I was depressed, but over the years after that, I had a therapist. I would go to see a therapist. I've had many suicide attempts, been in psych wards, things like that.
Wow.
But I couldn't put my finger on the problem. Like, what has me depressed? And so, probably a few years ago, I just started writing a journal and just start writing like things that happened. Then I started writing my story down, like what happened with my cousin, you know, raping and molesting me and things like that. And I had to relive all that, which was, very traumatic for me. And I broke down into like the worst depression I've had in my life, and I lost everything. It was broke. And I said, I can't be the only one who's dealing with this.
Right.
And so I decided to release my story publicly, in my book, and I did, and it was well received, but also a lot of people distanced themselves from me, away from me, because they didn't want any part of it,
Right.
or whatever. But I had to do it for myself. And I'm seeing a therapist because it gives me a chance to free myself of me. It gives me that opportunity, because also I was destroying myself as being that toxic person to myself. So I had to free myself from that. So now I'm happy that I released my story. I'm on a path of healing and forgiveness and things like that, and which I had to do in order to live, because I'll be almost 40 years old, and I feel like I haven't even lived my life yet.
Like
so,
I talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Is that
So a lot of things you touched on. So now, and I feel like now I want to live. It's about me now. Put so many people before me. It's time for me to be first. So.
But I only want to break this up just because you said something, and because we do the work in this. Well, and you too. We do the work. Doesn't it feel better when we're helping people after we've helped ourselves first?
Absolutely.
That I'm giving you the excess of my full cup.
Right.
Yes.
I'm not thinking that your victory fills my cup, because it was never mine. So that's just something that has come to me in the enlightenment of, let me do my work for me, and so whatever's left I can give you guys, and then that's excess. So I don't ever have to take that back from you. So moving on to Aaron, when was there a moment or like an event that happened that made you realize, okay, I'm done living my life in this way?
Yeah. So it was just recently, about, I would say 4 years ago.
Okay.
One of my female cousins, she came in, she picked me up from school, because I was living on campus at the time. And it was just weird for me. Like, we were having a conversation on the way home in the car, but all I thought about in that time is what she done to me. And I wanted to address it in that moment, but it's like, no, like, she's older now,
Right.
she's married, she got kids, like, I don't want to bring it up, so I just kind of like deal with it on my own. And I hid it for so long until you actually asked me that question. And I was hesitant at that moment, like, no. And I mentioned earlier too, like, when I hear it on television, when I hear it on the radio, it's like, it just makes me cringe inside.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to hear about it. Because I knew my spirit was telling me, you got to deal with this. You cannot run away from it. If you want to be healed, you have to ask for that help, that support to get you to that point. And so when you asked me that question, I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm tired of running away from it. My experience with it will actually help free someone else, even if they don't talk about it to anybody else. But as long as they have that freedom within themselves about it, Yeah.
But you said you would watch things and hear things and they made you cringe, and
Yeah.
that brought up something that I don't care what the adversity is,
Yeah.
that it's like music. Music can soothe you, but it can also bring up things.
Mm-hmm.
If something comes up and it almost disables you, that's the thing that you need to talk about.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you, so what was the defining moment of you recognizing that you needed or wanted to start your healing process?
The start of my process would be, it was years ago. It was actually, I was a youth pastor, and I was doing a lot of public work. And I noticed that, a friend of mine noticed that I could never like watch or listen to the audio tapes of anything, of like my recorded speakings. And I was doing like a lot of work, and like, I could never listen to it. She's like, why can't you listen to yourself? And she asked me this question one day while we were like trying to edit my media packages. And she was like, well, do you love yourself? And when she asked me the question, if you have real friends, when they ask you questions, you can't BS them, you got to answer them.
Right.
Yeah.
And she was my real friend. So when she asked me the question, I paused and I like teared up when I went to answer her because I couldn't. I was like, I don't. Like, and it was the first time I realized I needed help. And I spent a lot of years after that in and out of a lot of different options. Therapy was one of them. But I knew how to do therapy. I knew how to like play the game. So I was doing therapy and I was doing the other options, but I wasn't really committed to the process yet. I didn't have the buy-in yet. I think the buy-in and when I became committed to the process was in 2015. I had just gotten married and we aren't together anymore, but it was a month after I got married. And my partner at the time said something in an argument, and and he said everything that he knew was my triggers. And I had a major suicide attempt, and I don't remember anything but waking up in the hospital. And I decided when I woke up in the hospital, it would be the last time that I would allow, because no one would be able to use my triggers against me. And that was when I was like, if I don't heal for anyone else, it's for me. Like, that was when I became really committed to the healing process for myself, because I didn't want that to be there for myself. I wanted to be able, I felt like I owed it to the little boy inside of myself. Like, I want you to be free. Like, you need to be healed. If mama didn't pay attention, if nobody protected you, I'm going to go back and protect you. I'm going to gift to you what I felt like you didn't get. So that was, it was a kind of a lot of years and a lot of like time in between, but that was my process.
Awesome. Well, listen, we've had a wonderful conversation with you guys, and I appreciate you coming on my platform and sharing your platforms and and your stories with those who are viewing, and not just for not just for victims who may need that resolved, but for their support system, whether it's family, friends, associates, and and I want to remind people that it's 1 in 6 young boys that have been assaulted, but that number may be higher because of the rate of disclosure and of those who have come forward. But the last thing I want to mention, really truly, is that we must listen to our male victims. We must make those resources available, and we have to lessen the judgment and the stereotypes associated with male sexual assault victims. And so, as always, I thank you for joining us, and make sure to tune in next time. And if you have any questions about anything that we've mentioned on the show, go to oneononewithcory.com/resources, and you'll have lists of resources that you can use in your area to find the help that you need. Take care and God bless.